So this past weekend, I saw two movies, and they're two movies that I think the general audience will really like, both in their own ways, and two films that I think could be sleeper films in the packed film summer of 2023. And the two reviews that we're going to be doing today is for Gran Turismo and Blue Beetle. Now before we get started, make sure you leave a like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate that, and check out some of my other videos. These are going to be non-spoiler reviews because, first of all, I don't know how many of you are planning to go see it, but I would like you guys to go see it. So we're just going to be talking about the movies kind of in general, as a whole. Talk about what I liked, what I didn't like. No real spoilers. Well, one of them, Gran Turismo that is based on a true story. So there's that. Can't really spoil that, but I'm sure, just like me, not a lot of you would have known much about that story. Now, since I'm wearing an F1 shirt, the only F1 merch that I own, I'm not an F1 fan, we're gonna start with Gran Turismo, the movie that I saw actually today. So this movie is directed by Neil Blomkamp, who directed District 9, which is an awesome film. District 9 is amazing. So now Neil is back doing a movie for Sony and PlayStation called Gran Turismo, based on the game, but mostly based on a true story. This movie's based on a true story. This film really needs you to know that. About an actual racer who went from being a gamer to being a professional race car driver. And his name is Jan Martinborough. I gotta go back to this thing about this movie wanting you to know that it's based on a true story. Based on a true story? That's not like a quote to summarize this movie. That's like an actual piece of the title. It's called Gran Turismo based on a true story, which I think is absolutely freaking ridiculous. Going into this movie, basing it off the trailers, because we all saw the trailers like 100 times. They played it in front of every single movie for like months now. All I wanted from this movie is for it to be a fun and exciting racing film and a fun and inspirational sports story. And that's what it is, especially the fact that it's based on a true story. I wanted to learn more about that story. It's interesting. I love to play video games. How did this guy go from playing, a racing simulator to getting a contract with Nissan, like I said? And I really loved learning about that. Actually, sitting with my friend, I saw one of my other friends who really likes F1. He's a big F1 fan and he played Gran Turismo. So I saw it with him, and after the movie he did some research, and by the looks of it, it seems like this movie is actually very accurate to the life events of Jan in real life. Except the stories and the races are kind of told a little bit out of order to add drama. There's a big thing that happens in this movie, and it does actually happen in Jan's life, but kind of happened later in his life than where the movie takes place. But they kind of switch some things around to add to the drama, because at the same time, you're not only making a biopic, but you're also making a movie that's supposed to be entertaining. So to serve those movie purposes, they kind of just move some things around a little bit in his life. But for majority, this movie seemed to be very accurate. And yes, I clown on this idea that this movie is very heavily marketing the based on a true story part, but based on a true story is actually the biggest marketing thing for this film, because when you're watching this, there's an extra layer in your head, because you know it's based on a true story, that you're enjoying it more. At least that worked for me. After the movie, because I saw us on like a early screening or whatever, they had a Q&A with all the producers and the director, and Jan himself was sitting there. And they asked the producers, hey, what made you want to do this story? And one of the Sony producers said, they talked about how they wanted to make this Gran Turismo story 10 years ago, even before Jan's story came to be, right? And when I heard that, I just wanted this producer to say, oh my god, finally. We just wanted to cash in on the Gran Turismo name, and thank God Jan exists and his story exists. Because we looked at that and we were like, wait, Gran Turismo, we can use that as a title for a movie now. Finally, we found a way to do it. And because of the fact that it's based on a game, this movie does some really fun and creative stuff with the racing sequences. There's these little game icons, when he's racing, it freeze frames for a second and it shows you that, boop, he's in first, and it'll be written first over his car or something, or he's in second or 27th or whatever. And I thought that added some really fun and unique aspects to the racing sequences for this movie. It made the racing sequences unique to this movie. And going off of that, I think the racing sequences, the way they're filmed, really elevate this film. They're really entertaining and, fast-paced. Obviously. When watching this film, I couldn't help but keep thinking about this bad boy of a movie, Ford versus Ferrari. If you haven't seen this film, you have to see this film. Especially if you watch Gran Turismo and you like Gran Turismo, watch Ford versus Ferrari. This movie is a better version of Gran Turismo. When I first saw Ford vs Ferrari when it was in theaters, I remember thinking to myself, these racing sequences are just out of this world. They were so thrilling, and that's because of the editing. I'm pretty sure this movie actually won an Oscar for its editing. That's how good the editing was for the racing sequences. In Gran Turismo, the racing sequences are exciting, and they are thrilling, yes. But I kind of have a bit of an issue with the editing for them. In Gran Turismo, there is a lot of quick cuts. Really quick cuts, like outside of the car, inside of the car, close up on the driver's face. Oh, now we're onto a drone shot, sweeping drone shot real quick. Oh, now we're back to the inside of the car. It's very, very quickly done. I understand why, fast-paced editing, right? But at times, that didn't really work for me. But the racing sequences were still really cool in their own way. In terms of the cast, Archie Madekwe, who plays Jan, was good, yes, but the real standout is David Harbour, who is this mentor, teacher who doesn't believe in this process, but he's the tough coach that's going to learn how to believe with the help of Jan, and he's going to believe in Jan. And that's the story, and David Harbour is just great, and David Harbour should be in more things nowadays. Hopefully he gets more roles, because he's good. And Orlando Bloom is also in this movie, and he's also great. The main negative that I have of this movie comes from the story itself. So the movie starts and it really focuses on setting up Jan and his family. Jaimon Hansu plays his father. Give him more roles, and when you give him that role, give him more screen time. This guy's good. Why do you guys put him in movies and then like barely give him any screen time? Jaimon plays Jan's father, who really doesn't see a purpose in him wasting so much time on this racing simulator. He doesn't really believe in this. He wants him to go outside and play some football or soccer, depending where he's from. But obviously there becomes a moment where Jan gets this massive opportunity to go to the GT Academy and then gets a contract with Nissan. This is all in the trailer, I'm not spoiling it. Also based on a true story. And at a certain point, like in the first half of the movie, his dad and, you know, his brother even sometimes are like hating on his dreams. Like respectfully hating on his dreams, right? Once he starts to succeed in this, I would have loved to see like their reaction and how they're reacting to his success now. But the movie never really shows that. The movie for some reason focuses on his relationship with this girl that he knows from back home, and he flies her out to Tokyo and hangs out with her. He doesn't even like fly out his parents or his dad or his brother. I mean, it's all fine, you know? Taking out that girl? Sure, yes. But I think that time that we used to build his relationship with this girl, I think we could have used it to see how like his dad starts to support him more by being like, oh, you know, maybe I was wrong. Maybe you can make money and a living off of this racing thing. There's a whole point where the dad is an ex-football player, or again, an ex-soccer player, depending on where you're from. And, you know, he's trying to, his son, his older son, or his younger son, Jan's brother, whatever. He's also trying to make him a professional athlete. But then Jan is the one who becomes the professional athlete. And his father, we never really throughout the movie see his father and his reaction to that, to the fact that his son, who he didn't believe in, is starting to become, like, good at this thing. There is a moment towards the end, you know, before the final big race of the movie. Yes, they do have a moment, but I would have liked to see more of that throughout the movie. Like I said, I wanted this movie to be an inspirational and exciting sports film, and it is. And it's pretty good. Now I feel like I gotta buy the wheel for my setup and get Gran Turismo. I don't own the game, but I want to get the game. But I feel like it's not the same if I play it on like a controller. That's not gonna be the same, right? I gotta get the full wheel and the pedals and everything, right? Maybe I could go pro. F1, baby. Talk about Blue Beetle, the new film in the new, fresh James Gunn run DCU. I just want to point this out, that some of you may not know this, but this movie originally, when it was first announced a few years ago, it was supposed to be just an HBO, or I guess now a Max release. And then they upgraded it to theaters. And I hope you guys go see this movie, because right now it's on track to make like $20 total. I'm happy to say that I was wrong about this film. Well, I was like kind of wrong about the film. Let's not jump the gun. I was mostly right about it, but also kind of wrong, okay? Way back when like the first trailer came out, in my trailer reaction, I said that I wasn't really excited for this movie. The trailer did really nothing for me because it felt like a really generic superhero movie. Like, it's an origin story, it's a superhero movie that we have seen hundreds of times. This movie is like a copy and paste of a bunch of other superhero movies. I was right about that fact. But what I was wrong about is when I said those things, I kind of said them completely in a negative way. And what I mean by that is, yes, this movie is a very cliche superhero movie. At the end of the movie, he does verse a guy who has kind of the same powers as him, but he's red. Blue Beetle is blue and this guy's red. Yes, that does happen. But what this movie has to offer is heart. This movie's got plenty of heart, which makes this movie fun. Heart and fun gets this movie through the mediocre superhero stuff that it has to offer. And the action sequences are actually pretty good in this movie. The visual effects actually pop, and the director has made it a point to talk about how they try to lean more on practical effects. The suit looks pretty good. The practical suit, the visual effects suit looks pretty good too. I don't know how much I'm a fan of the mouth moving. Me and my friend talked about it after the movie. We're kind of iffy on the mouth moving, but it's whatever. But the main point that really makes this movie is the family. Because they say that a lot in this movie. There's a lot of focus on the family thing. I couldn't help but like giggle inside of myself when they said family because of the Vin Diesel being, God damn it. Xolo Maridueña, I hope I pronounced his name correctly. This is my first time seeing him in anything. I know a lot of people were excited to see him as Blue Beetle because Cobra Kai, I think he's in that. Maybe I could do a reaction to Cobra Kai on this channel. Let me know that down in the comments. But I thought as the lead, as Jaime, he was great. He was very likable, had a good charm about him. And his family was great too. The big standout was George Lopez. George Lopez is in this film, and I thought as a comedian, a lot of the funny stuff that this movie was trying to land with, I thought they gave it to him, and I thought he smashed out of the park. He was really funny in this movie. Yeah, there are jokes in this movie that don't land sometimes, it just kind of goes silent, but when George Lopez is on screen mainly, stuff's pretty funny. Although with the family thing, there's this weird thing that happens, and I don't know where it kind of came from within Blue Beetle. I don't know much about this character. I actually don't know anything about this character. I don't even know why I'm saying much. But I guess he doesn't kill. That's like a point that he made in this movie. He even yelled it out. No killing! You know, I'm not a killer. And he doesn't kill. But his family does. His family killed a bunch of people. His grandma was mowing people down. George Lopez, there's a point they're in this giant bug type thing, and he impales a guy with the bug's legs, and then the guy's stuck to the leg. Oh, that was pretty gruesome. So I guess that's like an inconsistency. Like, he doesn't kill, but then he watches his family kill a bunch of people. I don't really know about that. The villain of this movie, yeah, does have this kind of generic thing where he's gonna be like a version of kind of Blue Beetle and have similar powers so they can face off at the end. Yes, there is that version of him. But there at the end, I kind of found it funny because they try to tack on this huge, heavy backstory to the villain that seemed really interesting, and I think would have been better executed if they took those pieces and spread them out throughout the movie. In my opinion, it kind of comes out of nowhere, and it's really interesting, but they don't do much with it except just throw it at you at the end of the movie like, hey, he also has a thing going on here, okay? Also, one of the things that I found kind of annoying is that there is, because this movie is a very cliche superhero movie and has its beats, like, he gets his powers, right? And he is freaking out. He is losing his mind, right? The suit takes him flying. He is losing his mind. But I found the screaming kind of annoying because they did it like 3 times. Him screaming and freaking out within the suit. There's also like an element where he can like talk to the suit, talk to the scarab. But like a lot of its interactions throughout the movie were just him yelling within the suit, which I found kind of annoying. Like, yeah, I get it. He gets the powers and he's freaking out that he has these powers. Anybody would be freaking out, sure. But in my opinion, this movie is just kind of a lot of yelling when the suit's on. Also, this is kind of like a minor spoiler. There's a scene where he mentions, you know, Superman in Metropolis. He just kind of says that in passing. They talk about, you know, him having powers, I think. And he says, oh, like Superman in Metropolis? And then his uncle is looking into the scarab and he's like, dude, I think the scarab is like alien. And he goes, nah, you're crazy, uncle. You just mentioned that Superman exists in this universe. You guys know who Superman is, right? He's an alien. that means you guys have a bunch of other shit going on in this universe. And you're gonna call your uncle crazy for saying that the scarab that gave you powers, that burns a suit over your clothes, that's crazy that it's an alien? Yes, I know it's a nitpick, but I thought it was crazy that he called his uncle crazy for saying that the scarab could be alien when he just mentioned Superman a couple of minutes ago. So what does this mean for the new James Gunn run DCU? Well, I think this Blue Beetle family and this Blue Beetle team is safe, no matter how badly they flop, which they're on track to potentially flop pretty badly. I walked in on Friday, it was just me and my friend. The lobby is pretty much empty, and there was a few other people in our theater when we were watching the movie. I was hoping that the representation factor would pull people in, but it doesn't seem to be doing that. I also think the marketing for this movie was pretty poor. The actors obviously can't market this movie because of the strike. Sure, that hurt them. But also, nobody's really been seeing ads or commercials. I guess they gave them no budget to advertise this movie. Also, people have just completely lost faith in DC movies. They don't know whether this movie counts or whether it's going to be a complete fresh start. I think some people think that this movie is going to be a waste because they're going to get wiped out. But I'm pretty sure that James Gunn said that they're safe and that we will see them again. Because this movie was actually fun and good, hopefully they stick around. It wouldn't surprise anybody if DC decided to wipe out good things and keep, you know, bad stuff like Wonder Woman 3 or something is still happening, but we're gonna kill Blue Beetle. You know, that'd be crazy, but it's DC, so like anything's possible. But James Gunn is a smart guy, so maybe he won't. So even though that it looks like this movie's tracking to make like 50 cents at the box office, I think they're still safe. And I think DC and James Gunn just have to know that their new regime and that their new projects, maybe even Superman in 2025, when that comes out, they have to know that these movies will potentially keep flopping. But I think the goal is to make each one of them flop less and less until we start going into the positives. Because they really need to restore faith from the general audience into DC. So yes, for the most part, I was right about this movie. It's a very generic and by the books superhero movie. But I didn't know that this movie was gonna be so much fun and have heart. Because it does, and it sets it apart. It has some good emotional moments, it's funny, it has some good action too when the action happens. Those were my two small reviews for Gran Turismo and Blue Beetle. Let me know down in the comments, will you be seeing any of these films? And if so, which one? Why are you excited? And if you've seen any of these movies, let me know down in the comments, what did you think about them? Thank you so much for watching today's video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. Check us out my other videos, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.